Hello, everyone. I'm Chief Meteorologist Chris Nelson with this local update. As many of you know we do have chances for severe weather. We had a severe thunderstorm watch issued until 11 o'clock. Just coming in, several severe thunderstorm warnings issued from the National Weather Service. And we'll break this down. We have Storm Tracker 3 out with Zach Gilliland. He is heading closer to Albert Lee. He's been circling the whole area. But let me give you the bottom line right now of all these warnings. So in these yellow spots, these are all severe thunderstorm warnings. And we'll start out with the first one. And right now, I was actually a little bit concerned about the storm over parts of Mower County, that this might be a tornado warning because there was so much circulation. But this one, I'm going to try to put this into a good spot. Severe thunderstorm warning issued for a section of Mower County, southeastern Dodge, southwestern, it looks like Olmsted County, and this is getting into, we'll say, northwestern Fillmore County. This is going to run until 7:30. So looks like as of 6:46, so a couple of minutes ago, National Weather Service has a severe thunderstorm located near Austin, and this storm is moving at 35 miles an hour. So again, this is a severe thunderstorm warning. We want to make sure you're seeking shelter at this time. The storm, again, pushing at about 35 miles an hour. It does have history of producing winds that could be above 60 miles an hour and large hail. This is the same storm over Blue Earth and Faribault counties that per Doppler radar, that was showing almost 2-inch size hail. So again, this is a storm you do not want to mess with. The other severe thunderstorm warning, and why I'm talking about this, Drew, let's try to dial up Zach Gilliland. Is Zach available at some point here? Okay, so we'll talk to Zach in just a bit to see what he's looking at, but I want to go over this severe thunderstorm warning. And this one came in at about 6:44, and this one is for Worth County and northern Cerro Gordo counties. Again, this storm at 6:44 was located over Clear Lake and is now east of Garner. I know we were doing a Facebook Live earlier, and folks in Garner and Britt were letting us know on that Facebook Live there were at least pea-sized, maybe even penny-sized hail. This storm, I think the main concern right now is going to be winds that could be over 60 miles an hour. So if you are in any of these counties, Worth, Cerro Gordo, Mower, Dodge, Olmsted, and Fillmore counties, you want to make sure you're inside seeking shelter. Severe thunderstorm warning means this is taking place, this is imminent, and we want to make sure that you are at least inside and away from windows. Let's take a live look outside from Austin, if we can do that. Even, Drew, if we can double box that. We'll take a look at Austin. We're going to take a look at Mason City, and then we're going to check in with Zach Gilliland, who is in our storm tracker. He has, again, been circulating the whole viewing area. We had him pushed out into Austin, Albert Lee. That's a look right now of Austin. Let's try to get up Albert Lee next. You can see rain falling there. There's going to be some gusty winds right now if you are in Austin. Again, I was specifying with the severe thunderstorm warning that there's going to be a good chance that this storm is on top of Austin. But again, this storm is moving fairly rapidly. I believe we had it going at about 30 miles an hour pushing to the east. I'll see if we can confirm that. 35 miles an hour actually going to the east. This again is Austin. Let's take a look, Drew, if we can. Let's pop up Albert Lee and see what's going on in Albert Lee again as we try to put a track on the storm as well. This is the way radar looks right now, and this storm has intensified quite a bit just in the last, I would say, 15 to 20 minutes. So if this is all pushing to the east, we'll put a storm tracker on that before we actually get out to our storm tracker. Again, Zach Gilliland, let's take a look and see who will be impacted by this. So I know we're getting a lot of questions in regards to that. So right now, if obviously on top of Hayfield right now, Norris Springs, eventually Stewartville. I know we had questions on Charles City. This is right on your doorstep in Mason City, so we want to make sure that you are seeking shelter as well. That's a live look at Albert Lee currently. Again, some of these towns and communities are outside of our area. Let's get into Zach Gilliland. Let's find out where Zach is right now. He's in our Storm Tracker 3, and looks like it's raining right now. Zach, what do you have for us? What are you experiencing currently in our Storm Tracker?
Yeah, that's right, Chris. I'm here in Storm Tracker 3. We're just entering Albert Lee, and as you can tell just by the way, looking at things out on the road here, the rain is really coming down hard. We reached a little bit of a lull period in the storm. I just had gotten a little bit south into around the Northwood area, but as soon as I crossed the Minnesota border again, that's when that rain started to come down. Like you said, I've been circling around this storm just around since about 4 o'clock. I left Rochester, and the further west you go into Freeborn County, and I was in Faribault County at one point, the winds, the heavy rain just started to come down. Now in Albert Lee, the visibility very limited on the roads right now. I've seen a couple people out on the side of the road and a lot of people using their hazard lights as just a way to let other people know that they're out on the road, and people obviously going a slower amount of distance. I'm only going around 55 miles an hour. No hail just yet. I saw hail just a little bit earlier, but so far the high winds, the high rain is something we're going to keep on looking out for, and I'm going to continue to stay out on the road, head a little bit toward the Austin area, but for now I'm going to send things back to you, Chris, live in Storm Tracker 3, Zach Gilliland, KIMT News 3.
And thank you, Zach, for that update. We're going to get back to Zach in a bit. A brand new advisory posted. This is a flood advisory, it looks like, for parts of Mower County just because of all the rainfall. So let me give you the latest on that, and I'll try to put this back up so you can actually see the flood warning. Flood advisory. This kicked up, what time is it right now? 6:55, so about a minute ago. Doppler radar indicated heavy rain due to thunderstorms. This will cause urban and small stream flooding. This is near some locations: Austin, Brownsdale, Lisle, Lansing, Mayville, Mapleview, some of the areas that may be impacted. So thank you, Drew, for putting that double box up. Again, this is a flood advisory. That just means that it's a tier lower than when we look at flood warnings or flash flood warnings. Just means, again, kind of the same thing that I was talking about. You could see some urban and small streams flooding and some of these smaller areas that could be flooded. So anything that has poor drainage, minor flooding possible when you're looking at some of that. So it does include here western parts of Mower County for Austin and also for Lisle. Again, that's not the reason why we're on, but that's another reason I wanted to make sure we have a quick update. So anyone that's just joining us right now, we have several severe thunderstorm warnings, and this is why we decided to continue to go on and stay on. When we have multiple severe thunderstorm warnings and we feel like this could be obviously a liability to property and to life, we want to make sure we're staying on in these types of situations, and we're not going to try to stay on any longer than what we need to for right now. But let me take off the radar right now. These are all the different severe thunderstorm warnings that are out right now. Again, you can see a couple. This is including Austin. This is just outside, it looks like, of Rochester, but it does include a section currently in Olmsted County. And then it does not include, it looks like, Fillmore County, but we'll have the latest information here. And we'll get you a track and make sure everything is understandable or understanding for you at home and why we're staying on here. But again, this is for southwestern Olmsted County, northern Mower County, and it looks like southeastern Dodge. That is for this section here. That is in the orange. And again, those are some of the counties that are impacted. If we zoom in, anyone that's in this quote-unquote polygon, we want to make sure that you are staying inside at this point. So you can see, well, if I can zoom in here anymore, you'll see a number of counties or cities in these counties, and it does include Stewartville, it looks like. Just outside of Hayfield, Blooming Prairies, just outside of that, looks like Grand Meadow, Lansing. These are all locations not only in the severe thunderstorm warning, but it looks like Lansing and Austin, you are in the flood advisory and also the severe thunderstorm warning. We're going to go south, and we're going to go into Cerro Gordo and Worth counties. Here are some of the communities that are being impacted by that severe thunderstorm right now. Again, this is Northwood, Kensett, Manly, Grafton. If you are riding along or know anyone that's along I-35 in between Albert Lee and also for Mason City, that's a spot you don't want to be in. You don't want to be on Highway 65. That's where some of these storms are moving in. And of course, Highway 9, which covers a good portion, obviously, of North Iowa, which is between Fertile and Manly and Osage and Forest City. These are all locations that could produce some large hail and also some damaging winds. But again, there's not a tornado warning at this point. We are on because of the threat here for severe weather. We're talking about hail, and we're talking about the chance for some gusty winds. Let's get out back to Zach Gilliland and see what he is seeing right now. Again, he was just heading toward Albert Lee. And Drew, do we have his signals for us? So we'll get back to him again. Let's take a look at Albert Lee right now. And it looks like the storms are passing out of there. And then I want to take a look at, right now, that is a look at, that's Albert Lee, right? Yep, that's Albert Lee. So obviously it's raining right now. Let's take a look at Mason City. I want to give that vantage point of Mason City. And Mason City right now, I'm assuming is getting getting rained on. We do have a picture next. Okay, so let's. Can you get Mason City back up? That looks like that's Austin. While Drew is finding us Mason City, let me do a storm tracker on all this to make sure that we have everyone covered here. And there's a look at Mason City. Pretty good view right now of the storms pretty much on top of Mason City, county seat of Cerro Gordo County. And again, these storms are pushing between 25 and 35 miles an hour. There's a look right now at Storm Tracker. And I wanted to put a track on this to make sure everyone understands and sees. Again, we can't put every community down here, but you can see 7 o'clock right now on the nose. 7:14, we could see some of these thunderstorms moving, at least the strongest part of these storms, into Stewartville. Looks like 7:17 in Rochester, 7:44 for Chatfield, 7:48 for Charles City, and then so on and so forth through Vernon Springs at about 8:17, and then some of the other communities outside of our viewing area. It looks like we're not going to probably talk about that. Let me get to Zach Gilliland to see where he's at and the latest information he has right now. Zach?
Yeah, Chris, I just got off the exit from Austin from I-90 or from I-35. Now we're heading east on I-90. We're just about 10-15 minutes outside of Austin right now. And when I originally got on this road, things were getting a little bit, I would say, better out on the road. But now as soon as I'm getting closer to Mower County, that's when the rain has started to come down a little more fast than what I was originally on I-90. But so far, visibility has slowed down a little bit. And one of the things I have noticed is when people are out on the road, some people lights and taillights, that makes it extremely more difficult for visibility. It's hard enough to see some of the cars in front of you, but when you take out that aspect, then it's almost impossible to see. But so far, things are looking a little bit better than what we were in Albert Lea but just a minute ago. And so far, haven't seen any signs of hail just yet, or if any more flooding. But so far, still a lot of heavy rain, a little more low visibility. But I'm going to continue to track this as I kind of head a little bit more toward into Mower County. But now live in Storm Tracker 3, Zach Gilliland, KIMT News 3.
Thank you, Zach, for that update. Be safe out there. We're going to have and Drew, let Zach know we want him to head toward Austin. That's the targeted area that both have, it looks like a flood advisory and a severe thunderstorm warning. So we have a Facebook Live going on right now, and I know it's hard to interact, obviously, from the TV to where I'm at right now. So if you want to join the Facebook Live and ask questions, anything that I'm missing on or you want to know about, let us know or send us an email. Right now, the flood advisory, again, is for the western parts of Mower County, and if I put the loop on, you're going to see the last 3 hours. And this is what we call more or less slow motion in terms of the storm motion overall. But what we're going to see here, I think, in my opinion, and what a lot of the models were indicating, and I can show that as well, is something that's called training. And that is what we call, that's more or less redevelopment of showers and thunderstorms over the same locations. And again, this is a 3-hour loop. You can probably see in the last hour, these storms have not really moved, and they've really intensified over southwestern parts of Cerro Gordo County, and then all the way, this is actually going all the way south into parts of Franklin and Wright counties. And I mean, this is turning somewhat nasty. So I don't have any reports as of now of anything in terms of damaging winds or anything like that. But these storms have history back west, Dickinson County in Iowa, also Blue Earth and Faribault counties of, I believe, not only hail, but trees down as well. So this is something that has power. And I don't say that to scare anyone. I just want to make sure you are seeking shelter. You are not outside in this situation. We have gusty and damaging winds potentially. That's why the Weather Service has put out the severe thunderstorm warnings. But also there's going to be a threat here of heavy rainfall. So let me focus in on that about the heavy rainfall, since this is becoming, with the flood advisory. And once that severe weather threat does start to deteriorate a little bit, we'll see if this actually does trend to more of a flash flooding threat. So I'll put a now image on here, and let me look at and see how much rain we've already received in the last hour or two. Let's take a look here. And you can actually see some of these brighter colors right now. Let's go full screen, Drew, if you don't mind. Some of these brighter colors right now, this is over Freeborn County, where some of the showers and thunderstorms have been slowly moving in, or you've had a number of batches of showers and thunderstorms. And this is where Zach Gilliland is, and this is where he's heading. We're going to have him going east. But 2.9 inches of rainfall, and I know this was a couple of days ago. Freeborn County, Winnebago, Hancock, and also Worth County picked up several inches of rainfall. Can't remember what day that was, if that was Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday, one of those days. So the ground, the soil is saturated, any more rainfall, and again, that we're going to be looking at probably maybe even a flood advisory for this area. It does take half an hour sometimes for things to catch up on our radar indicated rainfall totals. But I'm assuming in this area where we have that flood advisory, that is going to be one of the problem spots. And there may be some more problem spots depending upon, again, how things all work out for the rest of the evening. But this is the flood advisory right now. So 7:05 the time. Several severe thunderstorm warnings right now across our area, and I was just talking about the rainfall. Let's talk a little bit more about the fact that, again, not only is there severe thunderstorms that are going to be possible here, we also have the gusty winds and we have the hail. So I'm going to put back our looks like there's a brand new severe thunderstorm warning, so let's look at that information. That's something that I mentioned also, I believe I put that on Facebook or Twitter, that just because we didn't have any initially doesn't mean that it didn't mean that we weren't going to have anything. And even as we get closer to dark and sunset, these thunderstorms are not going to lose any steam. There's enough energy, and there's also enough moisture as you step outside. I mean, don't do that now with thunderstorms, but this afternoon as you stepped outside, there was a lot of moisture to work with. So here's the brand new severe thunderstorm warning. Let's see if I can, trying to get that up right now. So the severe thunderstorm warning as of 7:05, so 7:06 right now, this is going to run until 7:45, the brand new severe thunderstorm warning. And this is going for northern Mitchell and southwestern Mower County. So this storm's cluster, more or less, is impacting several areas. And here's the new one. Again, it's in this box right here. So this is impacting, I know this is kind of a rural spot, but this is just south of Austin. And looks like it's just east of Leroy and just west of Northwood. So if you're anywhere in this section, and I'll talk about the towns right now that are going to be in line. Oops. So the towns in line, we have St. Ansgar, we have Lyle at 7:15. So if you're in St. Ansgar or you're in Lyle, 7:15, you're about 9 minutes away. You may already be seeing some of the winds. You can see some of these clusters in between. It looks like Leroy, St. Ansgar, Osage, and Northwood. That might be some large hail, and that could be some, I think, some very heavy rainfall. So these storms are pressing at about 35 miles an hour, and the hazard right now, these are winds that could be around 60 miles an hour for wind gusts, and also they're talking about penny-sized hail. So the penny-sized hail is about 1/2 inch to 7/10 of an inch. You're not talking about anything that will be to that criteria for severe thunderstorm warnings, but it's more about the winds that could really, I think, be packing a punch. So if I take off the sweeping radar, we'll look at all the areas that are being affected by warnings right now. And this is why we have decided to stay on it and do wall-to-wall. We're not doing this just because we're trying to break into your programming. We're doing this because this is impacting so many communities. We have 1, 2, 3 different severe thunderstorm warnings and 1 flood advisory. So each one of these, the new one is going to run until 7:45, and that's for parts of Mitchell, including Osage and St. Ansgar and Leroy. These other ones include Stewartville and Austin, also Mason City, Manly, Kent City, Northwood, Clear Lake as well. That's going to run until 7:30. So you have about another 22 minutes for those and a little bit longer for those severe thunderstorm warnings that are in for Mitchell and also for parts of Mower County. We're going to get to Zach in a second. I want to do a storm track on this, and then let's double box us, and let's take a look at Mason City, Drew. If we can double box and put a Mason City. Okay, we'll get that up whenever we can. I want to be able to put a track on here. And this storm is pushing at about 35 miles an hour to the east. So some of the, and I can already hear thunder going on in Rochester. You can hear that too, Kaylin. Kaylin right now is next to me. You probably can't see her, but she's doing a Facebook Live trying to give everyone that can't get a TV on kind of an inside look of what it looks like behind the scenes. About 7 minutes, 6 minutes for Byron. So this is probably real close to Casson, the strongest part of that cluster of the storm. 7:30 in Rochester, again, pushing east at about 35 miles an hour. Charles City, you have about another hour or so before that moves in. Obviously, a lot of these thunderstorms have moved into Northwood, Albert Lee, Austin, and Mason City, and that's why you're not on some of these tracks. For Fillmore County, it's been pretty quiet. Chatfield and Preston, I think you're between 8:15 and 8:30. Vernon Springs, we're not forgetting about you folks in Howard County. Also in Cresco and Riceville, you're going to be, I think, between 8 and 8:30. As again, this cluster kind of has an orientation more northeast to southwest, so our northeastern areas may see this a little bit sooner than some of the southern and southeastern areas, just depending upon, again, how the direction of that cold front is moving in. Let's take a look at Storm Tracker, and let's talk to Zach Gilliland, who has the latest on where he's at right now. Last time we checked, Zach, you were heading east, I believe, right, out of Albert Lea?
Yeah, that's right, Chris. I'm just about on the Mower County, Freeborn County line, so just about maybe 2 or 3 minutes right outside of Austin. So far, the rain has just about stayed the same, but obviously with the high rain, the low visibility, and the possible flood warning here, that everybody is just continuously taking it slow, and there have been a lot of wet spots, because you were talking about the flooding earlier. There have been a lot of wet spots on the road, a lot of slick roadways, but so far still heading a little bit toward Austin. So far haven't seen any more hail, but we are getting lightning here, but so far no thunder, but the heavy rain continues here. So far in Austin, visibility a little bit better than what we were seeing earlier, but still the rain's continuing here, and we're going to continue to monitor the situation just heading as we get into Austin. But for now, I'm going to send things back to you, Chris, live at Storm Tracker 3, Zach Gilliland, KIMT News 3.
Thank you, Zach. And we got Kaylin jumping in the shots. She's doing a Facebook Live for us again. But I have some of these green couplets on here, and what that'll show right now is that's going to show us some of the velocity data, since something right now what we're watching in some of these storms are again, velocity couplets. We look for some of those that can tell us if there's any rotation in the atmosphere, if there's any stronger winds. So some of these darker, and these, I should say, lighter greens, that is going to show some of those stronger winds potentially. And another thing that we have to keep, and what we monitor that we know can be affecting in clusters, large areas and even small areas, we can get what's called these downbursts, and also we can get some of these what we call QLCS tornadoes, and they're brief spin-up tornadoes within clusters. And I'm starting to see some of these little circulations that I want to make sure that they're not tornadoes at this point, or at least any rotation. We saw some before we came on, I would say at about 6:45, maybe even earlier than that we started to see a little bit of rotation. But let's look at some of these and see if we have any. So we can actually see some of these winds, and that's a look at Mason City right now. On a clear day, you can see miles upon miles, but you can see some of these velocities are anywhere between 40 and 50 miles an hour, and that's at our radar. Sometimes you get things that slow down at the surface, and other times you get things that speed up. And right now, the indication looks like we have winds that could be between 40 and 50 miles an hour, at least per Doppler radar. And there's probably some spots in, sure looks like right now, right in this area. And this is right along Highway 9 near Grafton. There may be a little bit of rotation in here, but there could be some very, very strong winds. So if we have anyone watching from Grafton, let us know what you're seeing, what you're experiencing. And right now there's a velocity at about 56 miles an hour near Grafton. So that's the strongest wind that I've seen so far. And there are actually maybe some stronger spots too. Right now, actually, look at this one. This one's at 67 miles an hour. So when you get some of these clusters, you can get downbursts and downdrafts, which are little isolated areas that shoot cold air down to the surface through these cold fronts. And that's why we get some of these isolated damage spots. So we'll be watching in between, it looks like, Grafton and Manly. If you're in Grafton right now, we have to make sure that you are in a safe spot right now, at least in taking shelter at this point. It's this location right in here. So if we're even zooming in on some of the really strong winds here, this looks like just north of Highway 9 and just east of 65. I've been on that road plenty of times here. Again, this is just south of Grafton. But again, this is moving east and northeast. So Grafton, you may have some very strong winds at this point. Again, between, it looks like, as strong as I mentioned. Let's pop this up. Well, now it's showing 29 miles an hour, but earlier it was showing as strong as 67 miles an hour. And I have Kaylin here as well. We have some viewers that were asking some questions. Do you have a mic on?
I don't.
Oh, you don't have a mic on. Yeah, now you do.
Studio mic, yes.
Yeah, you have a studio mic on. What are some of the questions that viewers are looking for?
Well, we do have some people in Grafton who are just saying it's coming down. People in Clear Lake were saying it was scary there.
Okay.
Let me scroll through here. Blowing like heck in Mason City.
So we do, yeah, I'm not surprised by that. If you have any reports, let us know. Weather at KIMT.com. Again, Kaylin is running the Facebook Live so we can get some of the reports. If you have pictures, photos of damage, please let us know. I do want to talk about this. We do have a brand new severe thunderstorm warning issued for southern parts. It looks like this is southern Mitchell and northern Floyd right now. Brand new information from the National Weather Service as of a minute ago. Severe thunderstorm located along a line extending from St. Ansgar to Norris Springs. I know we had a question about Norris Springs, and it hasn't really shifted for speed or movement. This storm is still pressing at about 30 miles an hour. Main threats continue to be winds at about 60 miles an hour for those wind gusts, and also penny-sized hail. Looks like it'll be near St. Ansgar. What time is it right now? 7:15. They're recommending 7:20, and Osage at 7:25, and that puts it at Floyd at approximately 7:40. Charles City, you're not quite in on this. Again, Highway 18 kind of wraps around and heads south into Charles City. It does not look like you're in that severe thunderstorm warning, but still you want to make sure you are in sturdy shelter. I know this is Sunday. There may not be a lot of Sunday evening, but it's Father's Day. There may be some people and folks that either maybe are camping, taking Monday off, some grilling going on, anything outdoors. We want to make sure people are inside at this point. Kaylin, any more questions? Otherwise, we're going to do some tracks.
Let's see. Not really questions.
People, I think at this point, again, you're wondering if this storm, go ahead, Kaylin.
April asks, is it safe for me to drive from Clear Lake home to Rockwell?
I would wait until these storms pass. So again, if we're going to zoom in, let's zoom in. Let's put the, and I can hear it really raining right now. So here's a good look right now at parts of Cerro Gordo County. Highway 65, we have Highway 18, Highway 9's a little bit north. I mean, this is a pretty mean-looking storm. And a couple of things with this storm right now that's going over Mason City. You're going to have strong winds, and we'll look at velocity, but also you're going to have, really heavy rainfall. If we look at the precipitation right now, this is, okay, just to give you an idea, in that little purple spot, if this would stay overhead in one spot for an hour, it would produce almost 11 inches of rainfall. It's not going to do that because it is tracking east, but some of these isolated spots are producing torrential downpours. So that's something, besides the wind and the fact that we're under severe thunderstorm warning, you do not want to travel in this. So please stay off Highway 65, stay off I-35, stay off Highway 18, B-20, all those main roads that are in and out outside of Mason City. That right there, again, hopefully that answers the question. We want to make sure you are not. Just let these storms pass, folks. These should be, they may be training, but you're going to get opportunities, I think, tonight to be able to lead. But hunker down and stay where you're at right now. And as, again, you can see some of these storms, what we call back building, and these are all developing over the wave. And some of these are developing for a couple of reasons. There's enough energy now. We're starting to get outflow from other storms. We're starting to see convergence. There's a front nearby. There's a lot of dynamics here that are producing at least chances here of strong to severe thunderstorms. Again, we have Zach and Storm Tracker. He's heading to Austin. Do we have Zach up, Drew? Oh, Jenna's back there. All right, let's hear from Zach, and let me know, Zach, where you're at, what you're experiencing.
Yeah, Chris, I just got outside of Austin. We're just heading through there, and one of the things that we keep talking about is obviously the flooding going on with all these heavy rainfalls, and it's made for a very slippery conditions. I've counted just about a couple times where I've slid just a little bit, haven't gone off the road, but definitely a lot of sliding. And when you see the sides of the road, especially in Austin, those are absolute puddles right now, and that's created more slick conditions, a lot more mist coming off of the cars, and that's really made for some tough conditions. So far I'm just heading out a little bit of Austin. So far the rainfall has been just around the last couple times, but people are keeping it slow, keeping it cautious, and I really think that's something that people should continue as these storms progress. But now I'm going to send things back over you to
Thank you, Zach. And as Zach said, in these kind of situations, just try to use common sense. This is a severe thunderstorm warning. It's including many of counties right now. So that's why we have decided to stay on air, and we're going to stay on air until we get some of these counties lifted. But again, if you're just joining us, we have several severe thunderstorm warnings. Our radar is lighting up like a Christmas tree, and with all the lightning and with the chance for some heavy rainfall and the chance for flooding at this point, we want to make sure that we have you covered, and with the gusty winds as well. So if you're just joining us, it's about 7:20. We have a Facebook Live going. If you have questions about any of the severe weather, I know sometimes it can be a challenge to be able to communicate with someone like myself that's on TV. So we have Kaylin Thompson, our anchor on the weekends and our reporter during the week. She is taking some questions on Facebook and doing a Facebook Live. Also, I want to be able to just talk this through and make sure we have everybody covered at this point. But here's the information on the warnings. So several right now. We'll start out with the severe thunderstorm warnings. We have 4 different severe thunderstorm warnings. This section right here, and that's for parts of Olmsted, Mower, southeastern Dodge. That is going to run for another 10 minutes or so. We have another one, almost kitty corner here. That's for parts of Worth County, and also it looks like for sections of Cerro Gordo, including Mason City. That's going to run, I believe, until 7:30, unless that was updated. I'm going to take a look at that, see if that was updated at all. Looks like 7:30. We have another one for the other section of Mower and also northern parts of Mitchell. That one is running until 7:30, or 7:45 rather. No updates in 7:05. And then the last one, which was just issued from the National Weather Service, I believe that one's going to run until 8 o'clock. That includes parts of Floyd and also southern Mitchell counties. So there's a lot of areas within the severe thunderstorm warning. What a severe thunderstorm warning means is the criteria for a severe thunderstorm means winds of 58 miles an hour or 1-inch hail, which is a diameter of a quarter. If we have any of those, Doppler radar indicated, or from a trained storm spotter, the National Weather Service will actually go ahead and they will issue a severe thunderstorm warning. So that's why we have several right now, and Kaylin, your head is on TV. And then we have, with the severe thunderstorm warning, and then we have the flood advisory, that's in blue. The flood advisory is there because of the heavy, heavy rainfall currently. And I would not be surprised at some point here if this gets pushed up further, meaning more areas may be impacted by not only the heavy rainfall, but maybe even the flooding. Let's see if there's anyone else that's involved in any of these floodings. There's nothing. So I just wanted to check on that. So let me put a track on this. We'll talk to Zach. Let's do a double box of what's going on right now in Rochester. We have not looked at Rochester. Maybe the sign cam, Drew? And there's a sign cam right now. Rochester right now, if you're joining us from the Med City, no severe thunderstorm warnings for the city, but it does include southern sections like Stewartville and all the way south and west along I-90, which includes like Dexter and Austin and so forth. Looks like we have a brand new severe thunderstorm warning, so let's look at this one. This one looks like it's going to run until 8 o'clock, 7:21. This is for central Cerro Gordo County. This is a severe thunderstorm located near Rockwell, or not. Okay, 1 second about that one. And then 9 miles southwest of Mason City. This is pushing 9 miles southwest of Mason City. This is pushing it about 25 miles to the east. Now, they're mentioning quarter-size hail and also 60 miles an hour for some of those wind gusts. And we do have a viewer photo from Rockwell. Let's take a look at that, Jenna, if we can. And right now, oh, there we go. That's a beautiful picture. So this could be a couple of things, this one. And this was sent in. Do we know who this was sent in by? By Pam. Thank you, Pam. This looks like a rain shaft, number one. But secondly, this could be one of those downbursts or those downdrafts that produce really strong winds. Beautiful picture. Thank you for sending us that. That was in Rockwell. Same locations and same spots that are being impacted and affected by these severe thunderstorm warnings. So again, that's brand new. So what we're concerned about right now with all these different warnings, the fact that we could see some of these damaging winds, and also on the tail side of the storm, where there's potentially some more colder air, or at least better dynamics for hail, there could be some quarter-size hail too. We have another viewer photo. Let's put that one up. This one is from Northwood. I believe it's quarter-size hail. Thank you for the viewer that sent that one in. And what I like about this picture, when you guys send in, and this is sent in from Michaela, I love the reference. So it's sometimes hard depending upon your hand size and what the hail looks like, but the references are perfect. So when you're sending in hail, I love that. If you can put it next to a golf ball, if you can put it next to a quarter, if you can put it next to a penny, anything like that, that is perfect. Anyone out there that has these pictures, keep sending those in. We obviously certainly appreciate that. Let's get out to Zach again. I want to see if he has any updates out of Austin. Last time we checked, he was near Austin on I-90 heading east. Zach, what do you have for us?
Yeah, that's right, Chris. We're out of Austin right now. We're just a little bit around Brownsville or Brownsdale right now. And so far, the rain has picked up just a little bit, but the difference between here and maybe how things were when we were in Austin, the traffic has really slowed down in these past couple 10, 15 minutes, which is a good sign. A lot of people heeding the warnings and a lot of people limiting their travel, but so far still, the roadway still a little bit slick. Just a few miles ago, I hit a slick spot and did a little bit of a hydroplane for a second, but so far still heavy rainfalls. It's picking up just a little bit so far, and that's continuing with the limited visibility here, but so far still a lot of people not on the roads right now. So far looks like they're heeding the warning, so that's a good sign. But I'm going to send things back to you, Chris. Live in Storm Tracker 3, Zach Gilliland, KIMT News 3.
And yeah, we want Zach heading to either Austin or Rochester at this point, and follow the line here. If he is in North Iowa, we want to have him stay. We just want him to go east, guys, and stay on the storm. So wherever he's at, we want him to stay on wherever these severe thunderstorms are right now. And there's several, and that's why we are staying on. We apologize for breaking in. We don't want to ruin the night, depending upon if you were looking forward to some of the shows that you were anticipating watching on CBS. I believe there is a way on CBS.com that you can actually go back and watch some of this stuff. But this is a type of situation where we want to stay on when there's so many different severe thunderstorm warnings. And when we have 4 or 5 at one time, it affects pretty much the whole viewing area. We have to go on and we have to stay on. So I'm going to take off the sweeper. These are all the different warnings that are up. Again, this is from just in the southern tier of the Rochester area, including Stewartville, back along I-90 to Austin. It does not include Albert Lee. It does not include actually all of Freeborn County does not include. It does not include places like Lake Mills or Buffalo Center in Winnebago County. It does not include Britt or Garner, Clemmy, any of those in parts of Hancock. But it does, I mean, look at the whole section here of Mason City, Manly, Clear Lake, Ventura, Rockwell, West, Floyd. This is all the way going north. We'll go from Osage to St. Ansgar. So there's a lot of locations being impacted, and that is why we are staying on. I'm going to put a track on this, and then we're going to look at different velocities to see how strong these winds are. But the overall storm motion has slowed down a bit. Some of these storms were coming in from the west at as fast as about 50 miles an hour, and it does look like they slowed down to about 20, 25 miles an hour. So I'm going to rearrange the time. We'll put about 20. That way, worst comes to worst. Let's put this back on. So within our weather system, we have various controls that we can use and manipulate. And right now, I'm just trying to slow down the storm motion and then putting this track on. So the next areas that'll be impacted, it looks like, I mean, the outskirts right now, it looks like of Charles City, probably already getting hit. Marion right now, that's in Olmsted County, southeastern portions of Rochester area. Viola, which is just northeast of Rochester. Chatfield, this is about, again, running between 7:30 and 8 o'clock. Fillmore County, you've been somewhat quiet. That's why we're mentioning Chatfield and Preston. Looks like St. Charles and Vernon Springs will be between 8 and 8:30. But a lot of these thunderstorms are on top of our major cities, and that's why the track at this point. We have video of heavy rain in Clear Lake. Let's take a look at that. This is from April, and it looks like there's some pretty good downpours right now. Where is it? Fiddler's Lounge in Clear Lake. I have never been. It looks beautiful, I'm sure, on a nice day, but it looks pretty grummy right now with all the rain coming in, and it doesn't look like the winds are too bad there. But this is a kind of a situation when we track these storms that the outflow or the original band can push wind in, but also within the clusters, you can see some of these, what you saw in that one picture. Do we have that one picture, that great rain shaft? Maybe we should put that back up while we're explaining that, guys. Within these, this one exactly, within these clusters, you can get downbursts, which are really isolated spots that'll produce damage. And this one might be perfect. This one might be a perfect example of what we see. Before I came here, I worked in various markets, and one of the markets I worked in was Las Vegas, and monsoon season would bring these very isolated cells that would produce downbursts, and they could have winds of 60, 70, 80 miles an hour. And I'm telling you, you could go down the road a half a mile and plants or nothing would be touched, and you would go 4 or 5 houses down to your quote-unquote neighbors, and half their house would be torn apart. So this is the kind of downburst situation that we can see, and that's why there's so many different severe thunderstorm warnings issued right now for our viewing area. So I do want to talk about the velocity right now and see if we do have any problem spots right now. Again, while I'm doing this, if you do have some questions about any type of weather coverage that we're doing right now, or something that you think we're missing and something you want maybe answered, go on the KIMT Facebook page. Kaylin Thompson right now is covering that right now for us. Ooh, this is pretty interesting. So let me zoom in. So there's a little spot that there may be a little bit of rotation. And the rotation right now is just north of Stewartville, and this is right along Highway 63 and I-90. So do we have let's take a look at the sign cam. Let's go double box there. And I know we're probably not going to be able to see it perfectly, but this one looks southeast. And you can actually see, tough to see, but out in the distance, there's a little bit of almost, I can't tell if it's a shelf cloud, but you can actually see a little bit of lowering there. And I'm not saying that that's the cloud right there, but that's probably the area that there maybe is a little bit of clearing, or at least the edge or the leading edge of that precipitation. But it looks like there may be a little bit of wind going on here just north of Stewartville. And this is actually near the little community of Judge, which is right along 63, which is north of Stewartville. And there could be some stronger winds embedded in here as well. So we're saying about 32. There were some stronger winds earlier, 39, 43. So it looks like this area, which is still under the severe thunderstorm warning, could be producing 30 to maybe 50 mile an hour winds. So it doesn't look like anything too severe. See, when you get some of these little red blotches in here, let me explain the velocity, by the way, which I don't think I have done yet. So when we look at velocity, or what we call storm relative velocity, it's a tool that we use from the radar, and relatively new, 10, 20 years. And when we're sending out beams from the radar, green is going toward and red is going away. So we get some of these, when you get red and green close together, you get kind of a circulation couplet or appendage. And that's why we show a lot of times the storm relative velocity during tornado warning. So when you get brighter reds and brighter greens in a very short distance, that's usually an indication either of some rotation within the cloud, there could be a funnel cloud, and even there could be a tornado. So that's what we look at. But some of the brighter colors picked out on our map will also show up and talk about velocities. And I showed one earlier near Grafton that was as strong as 67 miles an hour, but that was in one little section, and then you went to another section, and there's about 22 miles an hour. So those are downbursts that we're talking about right here that very well could produce very isolated damage. So a couple of things. If you have any damage, let us know, KIMT, or weather@KIMT.com. Go on the KIMT Facebook page, go on my Facebook page, Chris Nelson, Chief Meteorologist, KIMT, and let us know. I have my phone going, and there are times where I can actually look while I'm doing the coverage when Zach is, there we go, when Zach is on Storm Tracker. So that's a great way, and that's an excellent way to let us know, communicate with us any way possible, any way, shape, or form. What I want to do next, guys back there, Drew and Jenna, I want to take a look at all the different live eyes across our area. And we'll start out, whatever you have up first, just let me know which one we're going to start out first. And this is Rochester right now. And I'm going to take the velocity off. And as we're doing this, I want to be able to explain each community and how they're being impacted right now. So we were showing some of those stronger winds just north of Stewartville. Not only north of Stewartville and southwest of Rochester, but there's also some more bands west of Rochester that's showing, it looks like some moderate rainfall. This is not torrential rainfall like we were seeing in parts of North Iowa, but as of now, it does not look like there's anything severe currently. when we're looking at the radar. That doesn't mean that I want you to let your guard down by any means, but that just means as of now, things are holding on tight. Let's go to Austin next if we can do that. We'll go down the road on I-90. And it looks like things have cleared up some as well. Yellow and greens, it looks like you're getting a little break in the action. Good news there. We're not even going to look at Albert Lee right now. You folks in Albert Lee, love you, but you're looking just fine, I think, at this point. I want to look next at Mason City, because from Mason City and then pointing south, that's the section that has heavy rainfall, potentially some gusty and maybe even damaging winds. And also east into parts of Floyd County near Charles City, taking Highway 18 from Mason City to Charles City. You have Floyd, you have Norris Springs, you have Rudd, all spots right now that could be, and I think very well, have heavy rainfall currently. So let me look at that. I'm gonna poke around at some of the rainfall. So this is a little bit higher. We showed some of the rainfall precipitation. It gives us a kind of an average of what the radar is indicating, how much precipitation or moisture is in the cloud, or the potential's there. So near Norris Springs right now, over 5.5 inches of rainfall per hour if that would stay on top of the same location. But there's even heavier rain in Sheffield right now. And can you hear that, Kaylin? Yeah, there's some heavy rainfall just outside our station. So currently, this is probably the worst part of the storms. And how I can see that, it's in the southwestern part of this whole line. Sometimes you can get isolated tornadoes. Sometimes you can get larger hail. You can certainly get heavier rainfall, because this is where this is feeding the storms from that southerly and southwesterly flow. There's more moisture here, so this is going to produce a lot more rainfall. These purples, there could be some penny-sized hail. I know we had some reports. Where did we have the reports of hail? Was that in Northwood? I think we had some other reports in Rockwell too of some wind, and so this one, that's kind of eye-popping. This is just southwest of Rockford and just east of Rockwell. That little batch, very heavy rainfall, showing about 20.57 inches per hour if that would stay overhead. Reason I'm showing this is just to let you know, heavy rain is going to be a problem for the rest of the evening, and we're hoping that this does not become an issue where we're going to be talking about flash flooding. As of now, it's bad enough with all these different severe thunderstorm warnings. Kaylin, do you have any questions from viewers?
One says clearing tonight, so maybe what's kind of the timeline?
Timeline we have, okay, so that's a great question. So severe thunderstorm watch will continue until 11 o'clock. This does include, it looks like, if I put the watch up, I'm going to zoom out a little bit. Let's put the watch up. So it runs until 11 o'clock. And it doesn't look like they yet put anything in Floyd County. But this whole red area, I know it looks a little cluttered or unorganized, but that whole red area, that is a severe thunderstorm watch. That runs until 11 o'clock. So Kaylin, whoever asked that on our Facebook Live, 11 o'clock is probably the timing for the severe thunderstorms. Now, the flooding, I think that could continue on maybe into the overnight hours. We're going to lose a little bit of its steam, I think, just from between 3 and 7, 8 o'clock, you have the peak heating, you have the warmest temperatures. That's the best time for development all across the earth, not just in southern Minnesota, North Iowa, but all across the earth. And you start to get away from that, and those thunderstorms they're not going to sustain themselves as much as they would in the afternoon and evening. So 11 o'clock, I think, for the watches and for the chance for severe weather, but the flooding could be ongoing through the overnight. Yeah, I want to talk to Zach. Let's find out where Zach Gilland is. By the way, if you're just joining us, several severe thunderstorm warnings. We have a flood advisory. It looks like we have a couple severe thunderstorm warnings that were allowed to be lifted. Let's find out where Zach is right now.
Yeah, that's right, Chris. So far, I'm just towards the end of Mower County, towards the north part of Mower County. We're just about to hit that rest stop, so just about 10 miles outside of Stewartville and that Rochester exit. So far, the rain, like I said, has continued to stay steady throughout this time. So far, I haven't seen very much lightning. Saw couple strikes here and there, but so far still the rain. Now, as I continue to mention, now it's actually starting to pick up the little north you go, and it was kind of steady for the past 5 to 10 miles or so, but now as I'm starting to get towards Olmsted County, that's when it is start to pick up. But so far still the traffic on the road, not a whole lot of people out on the road, so continuing to heed not only our advice, but just maybe looking at the radar too so far, but still heavy rains, low visibility, and that's sort of the thing I'm going to continue to track as I kind of get a little bit toward more of Olmsted County. But now I'm going to send things back to you, Chris. Storm Tracker 3, Zach Gilliland, KIMT News 3.
Good stuff there, Zach. And anyone traveling, please just hunker down. If you're thinking of traveling, give it a couple more hours. And Drew and Jenna, let's have Zach maybe head south on Highway 63, and we'll have them go through Fillmore County, because that's where the worst part of these storms looks like they're heading. We no longer, I'm going to take off the sweeping radar, we no longer have the severe thunderstorm warning for parts of Olmsted and northern sections of Mower and southeastern Dodge. It looks like the worst part of these storms have now shifted. This is in parts of Mower, Mitchell, Floyd, and then all the way back into Cerro Gordo counties. It looks like this warning is for parts of Mason City. It looks like a new severe thunderstorm warning. I know this is outside of our area, but it is for Franklin and Butler County. That's going to run until 8:30. So I mentioned the fact that this is what we call back building. We get development on the southern side and the southern tier where all the moisture is and where the better dynamics are, because as these storms cross, they're basically trying to even everything out. That's what weather does across the earth. If something gets too hot, too cold, Mother Nature does a great job, great work of trying to just even everything out. And once you have rain and thunderstorms going through, it usually does a really good job of stabilizing the atmosphere, unless you have even better components working, something say as a low-level jet. Low-level jet will just act like a conveyor belt and bring more and more moisture. So many of you have seen overnight events. I can remember a couple last year where we had 5-6 inches of rainfall. That was all due to the low-level jet that just kept, it almost acted like a hose. And that hose, if you line 10 different hoses up and just pretend like this is southern Minnesota, North Iowa, it was just nonstop, just giving more and more water. That's what a low-level jet will do. In this situation, there is a chance we could see at least the conveyor belts kind of set up, especially in North Iowa. And that's something we were going to show at 5:30, and we ended up, because of golf, we did not have a 5:30 show. But I want to show this graphic real quickly. Let's see if I can pop it up. And what it is, it's the excessive rain outlook from the Weather Prediction Center. It's another branch of the National Weather Service. And they do various short-term and long-term studies of rainfall. They'll look at, obviously, like hurricane stuff, so on and so forth, storm prediction stuff. But in this yellow section, and it won't seem like much to you, but you have to if you do a little bit of digging in math, it's substantial. But in this yellow spot, through Monday morning, again, this is the excessive rainfall outlook, there's about a 10 to 20% chance of flooding within 25 miles. Now you're saying it's only 10 to 20%, but that's within 25 miles. I mean, if you go to this marginal threat, which is between, I believe, 5% and 10%, it's substantially lower, and then obviously everywhere else is zero. And that is in sections right now that picking up quite a bit of rain, and those thunderstorms are not moving very fast. And so far, so good. This prediction is looking pretty decent. And so far, and there's a look at Mason City right now. And so far, I have not had any reports of any flooding. If you have any type of reports, please let us know somehow, some way. If it's standing water, if it's just heavy rain in your backyard, if there's ponding, if there's a river or stream that's starting to overflow in your backyard, let us know. But this is the way it looks right now. It looks like Mason City. Oh, that's a look at Rochester. But Mason City right now, you're starting to edge out some of that precipitation, especially the heavier stuff. But if you head east out of town, Norris Springs and eventually Rudd, Floyd, and then Charles City, you're going to be next in line with some really heavy rainfall. And if you look south, Marlboro Rock and Doherty and Rockwell and Sheffield, these are all spots that are going to have rainfall for a while. And same thing as we look at Osage. And we had a question, Kaylin, about, I believe, Howard County, right?
Correct.
And they were wondering just overall. Oh, this was Cresco. Mm-hmm. So they're going to be next in line for, it looks like, any type of severe thunderstorm if it does actually take place. There's nothing yet. Here's the county line for Howard County. So again, Riceville, right in the middle. Half of the town, right, it looks like is in Mitchell, and the other half is in Howard. But we'll see if this actually does go into parts of Howard and even Fillmore County to see if there is a severe thunderstorm warning. But there are no new severe thunderstorm warnings as of now. I do want to look at velocity, and then we'll check in with Zach, and we'll see how these warnings do. Maybe we stay on for until some of these warnings are done, maybe 8 o'clock, and then we'll be done with some of this stuff. So we're going to go to velocity. You can really hear it coming down now, Kaylin, can't you?
I can.
Yeah, it's coming down at a pretty good clip. So what we look for in something like this, folks, is, first off, I got to take the radar off. Again, if you've been hanging around, you probably already know what we're looking for, but this is what we call a velocity component, a part of the radar system. And radar can show us anything from velocity couplets to tell us if there's any rotation, to the actual estimation of velocity of winds as they're getting driven down to the surface, to lightning. There's been a lot of lightning detected within these storms, and I can show you that. But a really nice and valuable tool are these velocity lasers or beams. And the brighter the green, the better chance of strong winds. And some of these brighter greens, and this is, it looks like in parts of Mower and also eastern Mower and western parts of Fillmore County, does look like there's some brighter spots. And some of these winds may be gusting to 50 miles an hour, 60 miles an hour. Looks like 50 right there. There might be some more. But some of these brighter ones, you get into about 50. Some of these brighter ones are very isolated. There's not a lot of these real bright greens. When we get what's called a derecho, or a big Boeing line of thunderstorms, there are times when these clusters can be one big red line, can be just from 50 to 60 miles, even longer, can be winds of 60, 70, 80 miles an hour. These are formed off what we call MCSs, mesoscale convective systems. They get thrown off from bow echoes. They get thrown off from sometimes these long-lived, long-track wind events, which we call derechos in the Midwest. But that's not the case here. What the case here is, bottom line, these are rain showers and thunderstorms that are going to produce lightning. There could be some isolated strong winds that could be around 50 to 60 miles an hour, and there's going to be lightning as well. Those are the main focuses as we look at storms like this. And it does look like we just have one more warning left. So what I'm going to do right now is I want to check in with Zach, see how Zach is doing, what he's seeing. We'll come back, and if we don't have any more warnings, we're going to get you back to programming. Zach, what do you have for us?
Yeah, Chris, so far heading down Highway 63 southbound. We're just getting into Stewartville here, and as you can tell, the rain, not too bad at the moment. Obviously, we're slowing down just a little bit. The speed limit is only around 45, heading into 30. But so far, again, especially with the weather and just it's almost 8 o'clock here, especially the visibility is going down. That's one of the biggest things we've been looking out for here, especially with the high rains. And so far, I'm looking around and I see a lot of puddles, a lot of medians, flooding just a little bit. Not too egregious, but so far just a little bit. We're getting there, and so far the rain, not too bad at this point. High winds, something, and especially the visibility we're going to have to look out for, especially as we get sort of into the later hours where nighttime continues to hit. But yeah, I'm going to send things back to you. Looking fine so far here in Stewartville, but live in Storm Tracker 3, Zach Gilliland, KIMT News 3.
Good stuff there, Zach. Be safe, and we'll check in with Zach potentially if we have any more warnings. Otherwise, he'll be joining us at 10 o'clock. With any updates, if we have any damage, any flooding events. But right now, there are just two more or less weather alerts. I know we have the severe thunderstorm watch up in the red. That's going to run until 11 o'clock. That was issued earlier. But the two focuses right now appear to be the severe thunderstorm warning in eastern and southeastern Saragordo County. And then we have the flood advisory with the heavy rainfall. We'll look at both of those. And if we don't have any more advisories or any more warnings that are pushed out, we are going to get you back to programming here, folks. Let me take off that war. For some reason, it wants me to talk about the watch again. So let me take off the watch, and we will take this off. So here is what the advisory says. 6:53. So this is a while ago, and I know we've been on for just about an hour with this coverage. The reason we stayed on has to do with the fact that so many folks are being impacted by the severe weather from North Iowa to southern Minnesota. This is going from Rochester to Mason City. So that's why we have decided to stay on. They are mentioning the fact that Doppler radar indicated heavy rain due to thunderstorms. This will cause urban and small stream flooding. Overflowing poor drainage areas will result in the flooding, and that's because and that's why we have the advisory. It looks like the advisory is going to run until 9 o'clock. So we're not going to stay on for this, of course. This is another hour and 11 minutes. We don't have any more rainfall. This will not, I think, stay up if we don't have any more rain. Severe thunderstorm. There's the warning for parts of Cerro Gordo County. It looks like that's going to run for another 11 minutes. So this one may expire, and we might be good to go. But at 7:40, which is 9 minutes ago, severe thunderstorm is located near Rockwell, or 9 miles southeast of Mason City, still pressing to the east at approximately 30 miles an hour. So this one still is severe, and this one may still be a severe thunderstorm that comes into Floyd County. So let's do a track on that, and we'll make sure everyone is safe that's in the line of the storm. And really, it does look like the worst part of the storm is already through Floyd County. I mean, Floyd County right now, you need to make sure you're just in a sturdy shelter at this point with winds that could be around 50 to 60 miles an hour. There could be some hail and some heavy rainfall too, along with some lightning. Again, that storm is on top of Floyd County. We don't need to do a track on that since it's being impacted right now. The lightning still lighting up like a Christmas tree. And if we take a look at how many lightning strikes in the last 10 to 15 minutes, let's take a look. About 700 lightning strikes in the last 10 minutes, and a lot of these are over Cerro Gordo, Floyd, Mitchell, Franklin, Butler, and Wright counties. Obviously, some of those counties are not in our area. We are going to get you back to programming. We have the last severe thunderstorm warning that's going to run for a couple more minutes. We'll let that one expire. Please make sure you follow everything digital on Facebook, online. KIMT.com has the latest information on that. We'll be running Facebook Lives with any other new severe thunderstorm warnings. We'll break in as well with any other severe thunderstorm warnings. And stay up to date on that app, too. Download that KIMT Storm Team 3 app. Thank you for joining us. We apologize we had a break-in for so long, but we obviously have your back and we have things covered for you. So we'll get you back to programming. Be safe and have a great night.